Ready? You have the cameras rolling?
Welcome to Outspoken.
This better be good.
A show about
floods, mutant, plagues, man-eating plants.
Actually, it's about thought-provoking, compelling conversations with people who have something important to say, a good story to tell, or knowledge we can learn from.
Oh, good for you!
And now,
Hold on to your butts.
here's Scott and Curtis.
Hello and welcome to the Outspoken Show with Scott and Curtis. I'm Scott, and our co-host as always is Curtis. Hey, Curtis.
Hey, Scott. Great to be with you.
So getting right to it today, good. Getting right to it, we have a special guest today, and as of a few days ago, he is now a 3-time Oscar contending producer, director, writer, and actor. So without further ado, please welcome as our guest today, Aaron Abelto. Aaron, welcome to the Outspoken Show with Scott and Curtis.
Oh, thank you guys for having me.
It's good to see you, man.
It's great to meet you too, Aaron.
Yeah.
Oh, nice to meet you too. This is pretty cool, just being on here and, getting to talk to everyone about, what's going on in the industry and everything. So
Yeah. So I heard lots of great things about you from Scott. You guys met up in South Florida. Was it at Jonathan's studio?
Yeah, it was through Jonathan, yeah.
Very cool. Jonathan McFadden, shout out to him.
Yep. Thank you, Jonathan. So Aaron, you're in contention again to make the Oscar shortlist for Evoke, and I think the category is Best Live Action Short Film category. Is that right?
yeah. This is my third year competing. Actually, it's a different category. The past 2 years, I competed in Best Documentary Feature.
Nice.
The first time was with The Power of Movement, and then last year was with a film called Iron Temple.
Very nice.
Which, by the way, the trailers, I saw the trailer for both. I haven't seen either of those films fully yet, but would love for you to be able to tell audiences where we could go see them. But the trailer, especially for Iron Temple, looked really cool. And at some point during this conversation, I want to reserve 5 minutes for us to geek out on what you're shooting with and crew size and all that.
Yeah, Curtis, let's go there now because Aaron, I think there's like a really good story for your co-star in that film. And I think you talked about it before, but tell Curtis kind of the background of him and how he got his start in acting.
So you're talking about Iron Temple, correct?
Yeah, and Iron Temple. Yeah, then we'll go to Evoke, but let's do Iron Temple because Curtis, just for some background for him.
Okay. So with Iron Temple, a friend of mine introduced me to the main character or the main guy in there that the documentary is about. His name is Tony Torres. Mm-hmm. And I went to his gym and, was just talking to him about it. We were talking about doing a short film, basically a short doc, and doing, basically doing the Oscar run with it, if once we got it finished. And, he told me the story and I listened to it and I just put it together more and more and more. And as I said, all right, well, let's just do it. It's a great story. And we started doing the story. And as I was putting together the edit and I was talking to my DP, David Escortia, and my producer, Rajesh, I was like, I think we got more than something here. I think we got more than a short film. I don't think it would do justice to Tony if we were to just do it as a short. And I went back to Tony and I said, hey, I want to make this a feature film and I want to, put it out there for everyone to see and, tell everybody your story. He has a great story of overcoming adversity, going to prison for 5 years for basically not, giving up his best friend. And, it's loyalty is a great thing, but I don't think I would go to prison for 5 years, but
Yeah, 5 years is expensive.
that's a long time. That's a very long time.
Yeah, it's a really great story. You could tell from the trailer it's going to be really powerful. And I'm just curious, like, did you shoot that in LA? Was it all in California, or did you shoot some of it in Florida? Where were you at when you shot that?
So we filmed, everything was filmed in South Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale area. So, so it was, his gym is in Miami. And again, I just wanted to showcase, how talented, people, individuals in Florida is, because You know, like a lot of the times we have to go to Los Angeles, or you'd have to go to New York or Chicago or even Atlanta to, you know, make projects and make films and stuff. But, you know, I want to showcase that we got talent down here. You know, we can do things here. And one thing I tell a lot of, you know, my friends, producer friends that are in LA and all these other places is I tell them that one thing I would love about Florida, and I'm going to sound biased, is we have great weather all year long. So you can film all year long. Obviously it rains sometimes, but majority of the year we don't get snow. You know, it's a little bit hot, but we can always film anything any time of the year. So
yeah, it's great. I have the same bias here in Texas. We had a pretty thriving film scene back in the early 2000s, and there were some incentives and things that were revoked by the state legislature, and that drove some production to Louisiana, then North Carolina, and then Georgia. You know, a lot of production happening in Georgia now. But you know, I had started a group and a website called Texas Film Scene, and we had a podcast behind it and the whole bit. And the idea was exactly the same as what you're talking about, which was to showcase talent, you know, from writers, directors, crew, you know, graphic artists, actors, everything, you know, in Texas, and show what artists there were doing. And there's just a ton of talent, man, all over the country. You know, there, of course, the gravity is in LA, and, you know, we understand that, but man, there is so much talent like yourself, just all over the country. So I'm glad to see you making a dent in the universe, man. That's really cool.
yeah, I think it's great to have different perspectives and, you know, different, just not the same. You know, I love to see, because there's talent, like you said, there's talent everywhere. And for me, I love giving everyone an opportunity to showcase that. You know, even when I'm in the production wise, you know, like I give my DP or my producer or whoever is there, I give them the opportunity to like showcase your talent in the sense of like, yeah, we have to do it this way. We need to get this done. But if they come up with an idea, I'm like, all right, let's do it. You know, I'm not going to shoot it down unless it doesn't like completely makes no sense, you know, so.
Yeah, film, you know, cinema is one of those really highly collaborative art forms. I think, you know, if you go to a liberal arts college, you major in the arts, you know, there's like 7 officially recognized arts, you know, sculpture, architecture, painting, and so forth. But cinema is the art form I think that's the most, in a way, the most difficult, because it's the most collaborative, generally speaking, unless you're, you know, Robert Rodriguez shooting his first film and you've got it all in your head, and
Yeah.
1.5, right? But
That's true.
How do you staff your crews? What, you know, tell us a little bit about you know, your situation. Are you running gun all the time? Have you stepped up as you've gotten more experience with the productions? What sort of gear do you like to shoot on?
So Aaron, will you also tell Curtis about how you came to do all those roles? Because Curtis has a really similar story. It's really cool.
Oh, okay. So actually, I'll start off with that, and then I'll bridge it into the thing. So Curtis, this is a good one for you. So I purposely, when I first started off doing in this film industry, I was extra. You know, I've always wanted to be a lead actor. You know, acting is always my first love. So what I would do is when I went on a lot of the film sets, especially like the big ones, like Step Up Revolution, we had a show down here called The Glades. We had quite a few of them. So I would go on a lot of those productions, even some commercial productions and stuff. And I was always an extra. And when I was being cast as an extra, usually like the first ADs and stuff, they would pick certain people to be in the front, and they would never pick me. You know, I was like, why don't they pick me? Why? And I don't know, it was just you know, there was someone was telling me something, you know, a higher existence was saying something, you know, and it was like, I never got in front of it. They would always pick, you know, the quote unquote beautiful people. So what happened is, I purposely used to sneak behind, you know, like the producers and the directors and all that, and become friends with them and learn like different cinematographers. So I wanted to learn every single part of the production, because you never know when you're doing a production when you may have to actually go in and do something. You know, maybe you got to go hold a boom mic. Maybe you got to go help with lighting. You have to pull cables. I remember one production I had to wrap cables, which was at the time I was having fun because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm part of the crew. But I'm like, nowadays I'm like, I mean, but I learned every single phase of the production because you never know when you're working on someone else's production. They may need a cinematographer. They may need someone. And that's what I think helped me learn. And what it also did for me when I bridged into directing is I learned, since I knew what everyone's job was, what they could do, I was able to help them if they needed something. So if, say, for example, someone in the sound came and said, I don't know something's going on, I can go over there and actually like, mess with them and figure out a way to do it. Because I feel like when you're able to collaborate and work with people that, you have a great rapport with, your production can go to the next height. People love working on there. And like I said, I'm a fun loving person. I like having fun. I like making the experience a fun time. So that's what that is.
Absolutely, man. I hate downtime, right? So as an actor, I love to be where the action was. So if I wasn't in the scene, then I want to be in video village, or I want to be, with the gaffers, or, just I want to find out what's going on. And what I learned there was, like you said, you learn a bit of trade crafts, but I think it also helps you as an actor, right? Because you understand what they're looking for, you understand what they're doing, you understand why they're asking you to do things in a certain way. And sometimes the director may forget to tell you, hey, when you cross, that you're supposed to be at a full sprint. When you cross, you got to make sure you're running 3/4, right? You're not running 3/4 speed. It's just going to be a blur, and we lose you. Or you got to understand why you got to take steps real gingerly, and when you do this, you got to cross the dolly tracks and not hit this because it's going to make all this noise. Yeah. So you start to learn these things from a crew side, and I think it helps you become a more bankable actor, right? Because you understand how to work with the production team and not be in a bubble, right? Yeah,
by knowing what happens in front of camera, it helps you translate to what's going on behind camera. So exactly. As an actor, I already know what the director wants from me, so I don't have to ask specific questions. Like he'll say, okay, I need you to hit this mark because we're not going to go out of focus, or this, so that, like little things that they would want you to do. You already know that. And then as a director, it helped me talking to my actors, when they're acting in a scene. I can say, okay, well, do it this way, and this, and I understand both sides, so it makes the production much more easier, as opposed to sometimes directors won't understand, not saying know how to speak to actors, but it's just like they if they can see it from there.
Yeah, let's just call it like it is, man.
True. But
some of them are great, but some of them, have a hard time.
Communication, I think sometimes is what happens, is where the disconnect is. To understand, like, okay, this is where it is. I've had a couple times where directors told me, like, you have great timing, and I'm like, I have no idea what that means. And then they were like, well, you know when to respond, where to do this, how that, and that comes with learning from both sides. And I think that's a capable thing that I think everyone should, learn that, because when you can speak to individuals and direct them to how you want your story or how the story should come out to, you're going to have an amazing project. It's just because then everyone's going to want to be, because you understand and that's one of the things I think today we should definitely do, is just to understand both sides, because when you understand both sides, it makes the production much more easy.
It's old school, like in the old days, back in the before times, right? When you wanted to move up the food chain in a business, you would learn the whole business, right? You would make the rounds. Yeah. If you're going to be a grocery store manager, man, you worked every job in the grocery store. Same, retail was famous for doing that, and a lot of corporations would do that too. And nowadays, everything is so specialized. That's something Scott and I talk about in our podcast about other industries, and everything's hyper specialized. And it's kind of gotten that way in the film industry. You don't see too many auteurs, right? And even people with a $5,000 budget feel like they got to have a 10-person crew, right? And I think learning all those jobs helps make you a better writer, director, actor, producer, editor. And
even to piggyback on what you're saying there with crew wise, is that like we have a close knit crew that we've been together for every single project. And I have David Escortia, my that guy is my DP, my director of photography, man. He has been he's been someone that's been super amazing because, like I said, we worked on every single project that I've done so far. He's been a part of. And the cool thing about, working with him is that he's able to see the vision that I see. And that's really hard sometimes to have a director of photography just like see the same vision. And then what's even amazing about it is David can enhance it. And I'm like, wow, like he enhances it to another level. Like even when we did, what's it called? Iron Temple, David told me he was like, he really wanted to do like an action type thing. And I said, okay, perfect. When we do Iron Temple, we're going to do half documentary, half narrative. And in the narrative portion, we're going to have people act out the actual scenes and this, and, and he just got super creative and it was like that. And even, like I said, everyone that we work with, from the sound guys to the David and the cinematographers and the different camera operators and just all different types of people, steady cam operators, the people that we have, we're all working together as a close knit. And what I like about that is that, and this is going to be funny because I love using this phrase, but it's just hilarious, is that Adam Sandler, I use Adam Sandler, like, yeah, Adam Sandler has an amazing, funny, movies and stuff. But if you notice in his films, like he works with all of his friends. Yeah. And that's what we're all friends. We're all like, hey, let's get together and do this project. And you know what? We're going to see where it goes, and everyone's on board. And that's what I love about that. Just having that crew, and, everyone trusts me, and, they know I'm going to go 110%. I'm going to go above everything. So
Aaron, tell us about Evoke and what it's about and why you did it.
Wow. So it's a good question. A very good question. So Evoke, wow. So there's a little story behind it, actually. So Evoke is basically about two police officers that are trying to solve a case that about the murder of a young woman, so basically what it is without giving everything away, how can I put it? It's basically about like the brotherhood of, what police officers go through and the mental and physical aspects in the mind that they go through. When you go out there as a police officer, you put your life on the line. Most of the times, they're there to protect us, but a lot of people don't know what's going on up here. So that's all I can give without giving away everything, because I definitely want everyone to actually see it.
There's a lot of directions that could go, so it'll be really interesting to see. There's I think there's a lot of history of really great movies that explore the psychology of law enforcement, and it's there's some great ones.
And one little theme that I also put that most individuals don't kind of get it is the not get it, but they don't see it till like they watch it a couple of times, is the acceptance factor. Like we live in a society right now where acceptance is what everyone wants. They want to be accepted, they want to be seen. And in the movie, you'll see one of the characters is really, really wanting acceptance from another character. And that's ultimately leads to what happens. So like I said, when you guys see it, you'll see. You'll come back and say, you know what? I see what you were talking about.
My two favorite movies in that genre. What's the Denzel movie? Training Day.
Training Day, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Training Day is one, and the other one was Colors.
Colors. That's Colors.
Yeah, it might be a little bit before your time, man. But you should look it up, man. That's
I will.
Sean Penn and Robert Duvall. Powerful, man.
It was.
That's right. That was you said Sean Penn and Robert Duvall. I remember that.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Well, it's an interesting story. So like an interesting story about like how this film came about, and people are gonna be like shocked how this came about. Is it was funny. I actually showed I showed you, Scott. I think I showed you guys the trailer or the teaser, I think, a while ago when we first did it, because I think we were in the class, and I think I was being interviewed. I think I showed you guys, but
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I think you did, yeah. So the interesting story about it is we were just finishing the Oscar run for Iron Temple, and I was talking to my producer, and I told him, I said, I kind of want to, do something right now, just while we're waiting to see, what our next project was. And Tony, who's the main actor, which is funny, he's one of the actors. He's actually over my right shoulder. Tony was actually he called me one night and he said he gave me this idea for this short film. And he gave me the idea and I was like, the idea is cool, but I think it would be best suited to do it as a feature because there's so much you can go for it. So then I told him my idea, and this idea, Evoke, I had this idea for a while. I wrote it down. I didn't write the script. I just wrote the idea down. And what I really wanted to do was a father and son buddy cop film. So when I did my research, I found out that, like father and son could never be partners in an actual cop, as police officers. So I was like, you know what, I got to change it up. So I told him the idea and he was like, oh, that's a great idea. So literally it was a Saturday night. I think probably like around 8:30, I talked to him. I called him back at 9:30 and I wrote the script in like an hour, sent it to him.
Wow.
He read it and he was like, this is actually really good. I was like, okay. So I sent it to my DP, David Escortian, and I sent it to my producer, Rajesh. And Rajesh was like, this is really good. He's like, what are you going to do with this? And I said, if David gives me the green light, like I want to do it. So the next day, David calls me and David says, I like this. He's like, I'm available Sunday.
That's
I
awesome.
said, oh, wow. Okay. So, and then we went and we started filming it and we came there, and we sent it off to some film festivals. And, and after a while, I sat down and I was talking to the producers, Rajesh and Sarah. And I said, I feel like we could do an Oscar run with this. I think we have some underlying elements that I think that will get us, noticed. And then so that's what happened. And then we started the Oscar run and, we're here today. It's funny. We just got featured in Variety magazine with our three biggest competitors. Our three competitors right now are Taylor Swift, Kendrick Lamar, and Jordan Peele.
Wow.
And I'll send you guys that. Yeah, I'll send you guys that stuff.
And then so December is a huge month for you and for Evoke, right? This is when they do when you make the first cut. Yeah,
it looks like we're hopefully we get shortlisted. It's just it's a tough category, but where they mentioned us in the top 10 so far. I mean, the guy the critic that usually is right on everything, he mentioned us recently in the article, and I'll send you guys the article too so you can showcase it. But yeah, it was crazy just to see my name up there with those names. I was like, okay,
that is awesome news. That's
we're for real.
That's great. Well, listen, we're going to take a short break, and we come right back. We want to hear more about some of your other projects and what's on the plate for you next, Aaron, and definitely want to hear some more about your background, how you got started in this business. So stick with us. We'll be right back on The Outspoken Show with Scott and Curtis.
Are you tired of working outside in the heat? Do you hate your boss? Do you want to get paid to sit on your ass and talk for a living? Well, if you answered yes to the last question, then voiceover might be for you. But if you think it's as easy as buying a microphone, hooking it up to your computer, and all of a sudden you're gonna get paid, think again. It's just like your mom told you. You gotta go to school.
You gotta go to school.
And you need to talk to actor, voice actor, director, and producer Jonathan McFadden of Prodigy Talent Training.
I'm Jonathan McFadden.
Jonathan works in the business, so he knows the ins and outs, and he can help you excel in the field you want to. Audiobooks, animation, video games, radio ads, and of course, voiceover. But you can't wait around because classes fill up fast. So get over to calendly.com/prodigytt. Yeah, that's a weird word. Here, I'll spell it. calendly.com/prodigytt. Click New Student Interview and pick a time that works for you. So listen to your mom and go to Prodigy Talent Training.
You gotta go to school.
And we're back on The Outspoken Show with Scott and Curtis, and our guest today, Aaron Abelto. Thank you very much for joining us, man. This is quite a fascinating history of your movies, man. You're such a young guy, and already you've had 3 films. Is that right? 3 films.
He's got like 10.
Well, 3 films in the Oscar running, right? and a background, a total of 10 films that you've created. Yes.
Yeah.
10 films. Well, I think it's 1, 2, 3. I think it's only been 4, but I've appeared in other films as an actor.
As an actor.
So,
Okay.
I wish it was 10. That'd be cool.
That's what I said. When did you get started, man? Were you like in nursery school or something?
I was like, when did I get started? That's a good question. You get so far in and you forget like when you started.
So you mentioned that you started as an act. I think you said you started as an actor, as an extra, and then learned from being on set. And did that inspire you to go do your own thing, or were you already making films in the background before that?
So when I was younger, like I always wanted to be an actor. I was an entertainer in my whole family. Like I was the non-shy person. So we would go to like parties and stuff, and all my cousins and stuff, they were like, oh, well, they're shy to go talk to other kids. They'd be like, oh, you go talk to them. I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's so funny. I still do that today. Like I hang around friends and stuff, and they're like, hey, can you go introduce us? And I'm like, you guys can go do that. Like, why I gotta, so I've always had that. I always had that, that not being afraid and just being out there, outspoken, fun type. And so what happened is, a friend of mine had come down. This was like in 2010, I think. I'm probably way off on the ears. I'm just thinking. But he told me about a film called Step Up Revolution. And he was like, hey, you want to start, you want to get your start in the industry. This is what you got to do. So I literally got on that film. And then after that, I started taking, after I learned what was going on and what I wanted to really, really do, I started taking acting classes here, Los Angeles, all different places, and just kept building and learning. And it just basically it just showed me how to start. And then you get your headshots, you get all your stuff to get together. You start, working on little projects, little short films, student films, everything. Did all those things. And then at some point I told myself, I was tired of doing extra work. Yeah, it's good money, but I was like, I know I'm built for in front of the camera. I know that I'm talented enough to do that. It sounds kind of conceited, but sometimes you got to have that confidence.
Yeah, that's where you got to be.
Yeah, and then I had went to LA, and my friend at the time had told me to come to LA to do this film, which most likely will never see the light of day because it's a long story. But we were sitting around a campfire. A lot of people don't hear this story, but we were sitting around a campfire. It was in a place called Corona, California, up in the middle of the woods. This is an interesting caveat here. I'm going to ask.
Way up the
So yeah, and we're in the middle of the mountains, right? And we're on this cottage and we're filming a film up there. And we're, the first thing they tell me when I walk in there, they're like, listen, don't go out late at a specific time. Or if you go out, make sure you have a flashlight, or don't go into dark areas. And I'm thinking, man, I'm from Miami. I'm from South Florida. We've seen everything. They're like, I was like, well, what do you need to be afraid of? Like, oh, well, you need to be afraid of mountain lions. And I'm like, huh?
Yeah. Wait,
what is a what?
We don't have mountain
lions. Yeah, so everyone's like, you need to watch out for mountain lions. And I'm thinking everyone's like in super fit shape. I'm a little bit, on the bulkier side, because I work out and stuff. So I'm sitting there like, they're going to see you guys and see, hey, this is an appetizer. They're going to see me and be like, this is the main course. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But, that's just a little caveat there for that. But moving forward with it, we were sitting around a campfire, and I remember everyone was talking about where they started, where they're from and everything. And they were all like, well, I'm from Malibu, I'm from Pasadena, I'm from this. And they get to me and I'm like, oh, well, I'm from South Florida. And they're like, oh, not really talented people from South Florida. And I played it. I was like, oh, okay, cool. But after we were done production, I was heading back home on the plane, and flying Virgin America when it was Virgin America. Now it's Alaska. But I started to cry. I cried on the way, like 5-hour trip back. I literally, tears were coming to my eyes. The lady that was sitting next to me was wondering what was wrong. Like, she said, okay. I'm like, I'm all right. I'm just thinking, and I think, and so when I touched back down, I stayed in my room for about 2 weeks, literally, when I got back home. And I just thought about it, thought about it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to show these, and I mean, it's not just show them specifically. I was just going to show, the world, that there is talent everywhere. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do this. And that's when I wrote I Before Thee. I literally stayed in my room, wrote the story, sent it to my friend at the time. He said, hey, let's just do it. Don't even wait for it. Don't even sell it. Just let's do it. And that's how I got started. I said, from then on, I've never given up. I've always been like, you know what, I'm going to do it no matter what.
That's great.
Wow.
That's great.
So Aaron, I know you have something up your sleeve. So you're doing something now. And can you give us some hints on what that might be?
Yeah, so can't really talk that much about it, but I can give you a little snippet. And actually, Scott, you're actually a part of this. Actually, I think I
was going to tell you from the rumors I'm hearing, the true star of the show is the dead father. Am I right?
I mean,
the answer is no.
Maybe.
Definitely not. I can
just tell him yes, man. It's cheaper than paying him residuals.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll just keep it that.
Yeah.
No, but we just finished filming a pilot TV show called Hypersonic. And right now it's being shopped to all the platforms. Can't say which ones per se, but it's being shopped to them. A lot of them are definitely interested in it, and like I said, we're gonna see what they do. And again, Scott is a part of it. And
right,
he's a small role, but no role is small though. It has a big.
No small roles, only small actors.
I mean, it works.
I'm 3'4".
Hey, I'm 3'3", so we're close and we're good. We're good. We can see eye to eye.
So are you feeling some traction? Are you feeling like, yeah, this has some legs?
Yes. From what I'm hearing back from a lot of the people, the platforms and stuff, they're very, very interested in it. Right now I think what they're doing is they're working out the logistical parts where it's like finding the budgeting, finding this, how many episodes, because I mean from the trailer and everything that we've showcase and stuff, it seems like they really are. Obviously we gotta say hush hush, keep hush hush about everything, yeah. But I feel like it's a project that it'll definitely make some noise in the coming year. I feel if everything goes to plan, hopefully we'll be filming in the next month or two and filming the rest of the episodes, and then hopefully it will release later next year.
Very
wow.
Cool.
That's impressive. So when you shop to these various streaming platforms, if they pick it up, is the deal you have that they would provide the budget for you to film the episodes, or that you would provide the episodes in the can and they would distribute?
Well, we definitely need the funding to continue the story, because there's things that realistically I couldn't even fund myself. I mean, right. VFX alone is like something we need, but I feel like the story, the project itself, I feel like they're going to be really interested in it, and it's something that's not being done right now, which is really, really cool. So I feel like they'll be like, hey, look, we'll give you the funding to do the rest of it. Obviously they're probably going to take a majority of stuff, but that's okay with me. Realistically, I just wanted this project to come out. I've had this project in my notes for a long time, and I said to myself, like, hey, let's do it. I probably had this idea maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. I think I wrote the script about 3 or 4 years ago, but obviously I had to enhance it, into these times now. So, but yeah, like I said, I'm praying and hoping, and I believe in it. For everyone watching, the cast and crew, whenever you guys see this, I'm working overtime for you guys. This is all for you guys.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I want you to be sure and let our audience know what they can do to support you, and what they can do to encourage adoption by the platforms and get the series picked up if there's anything that you'd have them do. But yeah, that would be awesome to see. I'd love to see Scott laid out. Some days more than others, but no, I'm kidding, Scott. I love you, man. I love you. So quick question, Aaron, when you got into this, roughly how old were you when you started with Step Up Revolution, trying to do your acting thing?
Wow, this was back when I was in college, like 2013, I think, somewhere around that, So you're like 21, 22. Yeah. No, I'm thinking like 2000. Oh, you mean age wise?
Yeah.
Wow, I late 20s, I guess. Late, like mid to late 20s is when I think I started, probably like 10 years
So
ago.
what kind of reaction did your parents have? Was it like, yeah, go for it, or was it like, you're crazy?
Curtis, you have kids?
Yep.
Scott, I know you have
I don't know if
kids.
you know, Aaron. Curtis won't talk about this, but Curtis has 3 daughters that are all in movies, and he has a pretty crazy family where they are all involved, and have done some pretty major projections, major movies. Anyway, so.
Well, it depends, because like it's hard to sometimes get your family in kind of involved in understanding what you're doing, and that's not with just this industry. That could be with any industry.
Yeah, for sure.
It's I come from an old fashioned Caribbean family, and their ideology is like, you go to school, you get a job, you get a house, you get a wife, you get kids, you get a picket fence, and you get a pension 1 year, and then you retire. Like, it's like, and again, I'm not knocking that. Like, anybody that does that, it's a blessing to get through and do all that stuff. But me, I consider myself like, and this is going to sound really highly, but I consider myself a pioneer. I'm the type, I want to make a difference in the world, and it's not just by doing one thing. It's just by doing multiple things. And the fact that I could tell stories, and people watch it and be entertained by it, I love that aspect, because it's like, I'll give you an example. For people that haven't seen I Before Thee, the way it ends on a question mark. And the reason I ended it on a question mark is because I wanted everyone to formulate their own creative ending. However you want it to end, it's gonna end on your thing. I'm not telling you how it's gonna end. And exactly, and that's what I feel like. Which growing up in my family, and I quite a few families I know go through the same thing. But I feel like they've given me the support that I've needed. Thankfully, especially my mom. Without her, I'm not even here doing this. And one thing, this is a little secret, but she probably doesn't know. But every film, every project that I do, I always put in the special thanks. I always put my mom's name in, because she's the one. I'm not here without her. And that's one of the things I wanted to push. To make sure that people know who she is. Even though she's like, I don't want nobody to know who I am, but I'm like, listen, they're gonna know who you are.
Didn't she make some pretty big sacrifices for you early on, and to really support you?
Yeah, no, of course. And that's why I said, like, she's the one person that I can always say that, even though sometimes, moms can be moms, she's been supporting me, from day one. Even though, and the thing is, what's so interesting about all this is that a lot of parents don't understand. And I know Will Smith made a song about that a long time ago, but he made it for a different reason. I'm saying, like, they don't understand. Yeah, parents, if you're watching this, I apologize, but it's it's that they don't understand, because it's not because they don't want to understand. It's because the industry that we're in, most people don't understand that it is actually a business. So I have an MBA in business administration from my school, Nova Southeastern University. And the crazy thing about it is that when I first went into the film industry, a majority of people think, oh, you're trying to be an actor, you're trying to make millions of dollars, you're trying to do this. They didn't realize that, and even for myself, I'm the same. When I first started, I thought the same way too, until I got in, is when I realized that this is actually a business. It is a film industry is a business. It's not like a lot of the things that I've learned in my business classes. I've had to use it in this, where we've had to figure out taxes. Because we have a movie studio. Abelto Film Entertainment is our movie studio. It owns all of our films. We have to pay taxes on those things. We have to purchase things for it. We have to do contract negotiations. I remember when we did our first distribution deal. Well, not our first, I'm sorry, our second distribution deal with Entertainment Studios, which is now Allen Media Group, I think, or I can't even, they've changed their name. But when we did it with them, we literally had to hire a lawyer to read a contract, and me and my producer had to deliberate, or my business partner, we had to deliberate and figure out, okay, is this the right way? What's the percentage? What's this? What's that? Before we could collect anything, it was all about, listen, let's just get it out there, get it done. And it's a business. It's a business. And that's what I think sometimes people fail to understand, that it is a business.
Yeah, the business of show is business for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you said that you started your business, and I assume you started in Florida, not in California, right?
Yeah, we started in Florida.
So if you ever contemplate moving to California with that, it's going to be painful, man.
Yeah. I think that was a smart move, incorporating in Florida.
Yeah, and the thing is too, like what I've learned is that, like something someone told me, a couple of my friends, you know, they're probably gonna beat me up for saying this, but they had, when I first started in the industry and I learned all the stuff I learned, they wanted to get into it and become, you know, actors and stuff, and they're like, oh well, I'm gonna do a project and then go straight to LA, and I'm like, you shouldn't do that. Don't go there. And they're like, well, why? I'm like, well, because the industry now has become, how can I say, mobile now. You don't have to be in Los Angeles to make movies. You can be in Idaho, anywhere. You can do it anywhere. Right. You know, all you need to do is have the contacts to the actual distributors and financiers. You can do a project anywhere. You don't have to go there. You know, everyone's misconception is you have to go there. You have to. I mean, Texas. I would love to film a movie in Texas.
Come on, brother.
I would love to do that. I would love to. You know, and you know what that's what I said I love about Florida is we have the weather. You know, like Texas, you'd want to go there and film for specifics. You know, like, hey, everything's big in Texas. So that's what I was trying to explain to individuals is that, you know, do your research and do it. You know, we're running our studio out of South Florida, and we are in contact with Netflix. We're in contact with Apple TV, Apple TV, I think, has been our biggest customer these days that we work with a lot. You know, Amazon Prime, we work with a lot of them. So we're here and we're working with them. They're all over the place. And the funny thing is like Amazon Prime, I think, isn't even in Los Angeles, or I think Netflix's main office is in Los Angeles, but the guy we connect with, I think, is in like Netherlands or something.
Yeah.
So it's global.
All based out of Seattle.
Yeah, it's in Seattle. So it's just like,
No, it's, you know, that's a great point. Many years ago, probably 2000, I don't know, 2004 or 5, something like that. Was working with a longtime friend of mine, and we, you know, this is back in the days we were still shooting 35 millimeter film, right? But we had a bunch of connections to some pretty powerful scripts and pretty powerful DPs that he had worked with, and we started, and he said, hey man, can you help me put together a business plan? And so I kind of got involved with that and started learning the economics of Hollywood and how these films were funded. Like it's crazy, man. You know, and especially the change from the way things were done to the way they're done now for purposes of streaming. You know, nowadays, everything is really, most things, not everything obviously, but most things are really farmed out to independent filmmakers like yourself, because they simply don't have the budget or frankly, the creativity to come up with all these different ideas that they need to fill their content platforms. Whereas before, you know, there was a handful of movie studios. They all put out, you know, 8 titles a year, usually one tentpole movie, and then, you know, a few low budget passion projects from specific actors, and then some stuff in the middle that was more character driven, you know, maybe a few action movies for international distribution. And then that was it. That was like a formula for them. Right. And how they acquired that funding, you know, it was like the VC game in the tech business. You know, it was all other people's money. You know, some crazy accounting that we won't go into here, but nowadays it's really, really different. And those content those content platforms need people like you to go out and produce these films, because it's so much easier for them to just go acquire the distribution rights from you, or give you a budget, say, you know what, yeah, we like your idea, you know, you've done the pilot, we like what you're doing with it, you got a track record, you know, here's some money, than it is for them to have this, you know, to own everything and drive everything themselves, because then they start becoming, you know, a super giant production company, and that's fraught with all kinds of problems. That's the kind of world that Scott and I deal with all the time, is you get these companies of massive scale, man, that it just bottlenecks the creativity.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, imagine if you guys. So, for example, let's say right now we're in a meeting, right? And you guys are like, "Hey, we want to we like all your stuff. We like what you want to do and all this stuff." And they say, "Oh, like you said, we like the pilot. We want to take it further." Why would you guys say like, "Hey, we're going to give you a $5 million budget to do the rest of it," right? Well, that's like you said, that's where it is. But just imagine if they come back and they say, "Okay, we like your project. We're going to give you this amount for it, and we're going to redo it." And by you guys redoing it, you got to spend, instead of spending 5, you spend 10. What I've learned about a lot of distributors these days, like you said earlier, is that they're more interested in content. If someone can put together content that's really, really good and really saleable, it's like, why am I going to spend extra money? I'll spend the money to budget it and stuff. But yeah, they're going to take maybe 50% on the back end. And then when that happens, they're like, okay, well, when they look at the cause and effect for it, it's like, wait a minute, we only spent this amount, but we're making this back. And then what I tell a lot of individuals about when they do projects and they release it is that if you own that project, like Able to Film owns all of our projects. We own that for the rest of our lives. For the rest, it's not like we don't own, it specifically. It's just like, look, we own that for the rest of the time. It's ours. It's not someone else's stuff. And that's what I tell a lot of people. I say, own your projects, own your stuff. Like how a lot of the music industry individuals, they want to own their masters. You want to own your masters just for the rest of your life.
You want to own the back catalog, man, because if you ever hit it big, then all that back catalog, all those early albums become worth a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Taylor Swift. I don't like mentioning her name because she's for the next couple of weeks, so she's my competitor.
Yeah, it's too bad she lost.
So I like that. Yeah, but it's something, and that's another thing I like telling individuals is that definitely do your research when you go into this industry. Don't just, because a lot of people see the glitz and the glamour. They see the big money, the celebrity. It's so funny. I told a friend of mine, I play basketball with him all the time, and he's like, "Oh, I'm ready to be an actor. I'm ready to be this." He's in a couple of the films. And I said, "Man, are you sure you're ready for this? There is a specific, like behavior that you have to exhibit when you do this. I mean, when you do interviews, you have to prepare for interviews. You have to prepare for everything. There's certain things you can and can't do. You have to stay clean. I mean, you don't want to be like Harvey Weinstein. When I should say the moment that I found out that I really, am in the door was I was coming out from the gym one time, and I was going to get a smoothie, after working out, and these 2 random girls just yelled out, "Oh my God, I saw your movie, did it?" And I'm just like, oh boy, what do I do here? And because it was my first time. Now I'm like, everything's fine, but it was my first time hearing that, and it was just like randomly, and like they were going to the same place I went, so as a I said, "Hey, for you 2 supporting me and looking at my stuff here, I'm gonna purchase your smoothies for you too, and thank you so much for that." And it's just, again, it's just stuff that comes with it. The 16-hour days, 24-hour days. I mean, when we shot Evoke was shot in one day, 24 hours, and we knocked it out. Surprisingly, it was hard, but we did it. A lot of the stuff, it's just, they don't see that when you're in the editing bay, when you're trying to figure out stuff. I mean, there's so much stuff that goes into putting this stuff together. It's, I don't want to be a cynical, and tell people don't go in, but I say, do your research, understand that it's a business, and, just give the respect it is, because, a lot of these individuals that go out here and do this stuff, man, it's, I give you props. Anyone that has done a feature film, I always tell them, you did something that a lot of people, haven't done yet.
Yeah,
go for it.
For sure. Hey, good stuff, Aaron. When we come back, I know Scott's got some questions, and I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about storytelling. So let's pick up on those things when we come back. We'll be right back on the Outspoken Show with Scott and Kurt.
The Infernal Guard, Book 3, Severance. The 3 pieces of an age-old prophecy have been found, the children who will save the world, until one goes missing. Now it's up to the Guard to find that kidnapped piece of the puzzle, to sever the links between worlds and stop an invasion from the underworld. Will they make it in time? Will this former enemy cooperate, or does her hatred live on? Coming soon wherever audiobooks are sold. Witness the end of the thrilling Infernal Guard trilogy by S.G.D. Singh.
And welcome back to the Outspoken Show with Scott and Curtis. And with us today again is Aaron Abelto, who is a writer, director, actor, producer. Did I cover everything, Aaron?
3-time Oscar.
Yeah. So Aaron, let's switch directions just a little bit. So you've been on about 10 projects so far, or roughly, and at least that's what it says on IMDb. But what's on the horizon for you? And I kind of want to couch this in, where are you going? What's like your ultimate goal? Like, what is it? Where are you trying to obtain for Aaron?
So, wow, that's a good question. Realistically, so like I want to, obviously make a difference in this industry and, kind of bring it back to the classical days of what the film industry is about, like just being creative and bringing stories to life, not just doing the same old stories like Spider-Man 10 or Batman 25,
Spider-Man 35, yeah.
Yeah, just, Avengers 10, like I want to do, like creative stuff, and not saying those aren't creative. They are creative. I do like the Marvel stuff. But for myself, if you think about it, like Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, the Christopher Nolans, those guys are getting, up in age. And I think it's time for, this is very subjective. I feel like it's time for the up and comers like myself and other people to, kind of get put into the forefront, because it's so funny. And to add on that, it's so, I just heard the other day, like, what's his name? The guy who's doing Avatar, James Cameron, is like going to be like 80 something or something like that. And I'm like, wow. And he's still doing movies. It's like, that's crazy. But I mean, like I would love to be the next Spielberg, or just, be myself in a Spielberg aspect, or, and just make it out there. And not just in the directing. I would love to do it both in acting. Like I would love to be the next Denzel Washington, Will Smith, or, well, Will Smith before the slap. Before that.
Pre-slap Smith.
Pre-slap Smith. I know, yeah. But yeah, like, and I'd always tell everyone my favorite actor of all time is Johnny Depp. And I like just Johnny Depp because he can play any character he wants. And that's what I've tried to do in my acting career. I've tried to play multiple roles, different characters. And so I would definitely, like, just to be a part of that, just to be mentioned in those guys, shadow, like, hey, this guy's here, It's just to be up there, and and one thing I can say is I'm super thankful that I'm blessed. Thank you, the man above, because I get to do what I love, and not a lot of people on this planet gets to do what they love, and because I know a lot of people have to work really hard, and I give them a lot of praise, and I'm thankful that that you guys do those things, but I'm also thankful that I'm able to do this and follow my dreams, because following your dreams is something that is important in life. You want to, in order to get to where you want to be, you got to keep going. And ever since I started, I'm never going to stop. I'm not retiring. Like I'm going till it's my time to go. I'm going. Like I'm not retiring. So
where's Aaron Abelto in 5 years? What are you doing?
5 years. So in 5 years, I want to say Able to Film Entertainment will be the new Lionsgate / Sony Pictures.
Nice.
That's where I want to be. Actually, less than that. I don't even want to be 5 years. I want to be there within the next couple of years.
That sounds great. Well, it could change really quickly here, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this Oscar run here, I think it could really, really change. Yeah. I mean, it's something. Again, if you think about it, like this is something. I mean, I've done a little research, not a lot, but I've never, so far from my research, I haven't seen someone compete for an Oscar 3 years in a row, and not just 3 years in a row, but 3 years in a row in different categories.
Yeah, it's quite an achievement. You should be very proud of that. That's awesome.
Well, thank you guys.
every time I talk to you, you're always such a super positive guy and just have a great attitude. But you must run across detractors, or people that are, just not supporters of how you're going and what you're doing. And how do you deal with those guys in your role?
Well, in any industry, you're always going to run into the naysayers, and the way I deal with it is I just say thank you. I say thank you. Thank you, and thank you for your input. And duly noted. But I just use that as fuel. I remember when I first started. People would tell me, like, I remember one of my acting coaches told me this. I still remember him for it. He said that you don't have the look for a lead actor. You're not in great physically shape. You don't have the look, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, what is the look? That doesn't make any sense, But I used it as fuel, I use it. And, it's kind of funny that.
Pretty sure they told Gene Hackman and Danny DeVito the same thing.
Yeah, no kidding.
Probably, yeah. I probably, yeah. And it's so funny. This is going to sounds kind of weird in this essence, but I don't know if you guys really watch like sports, but if you ever got a chance to watch the Last Dance with Michael Jordan, right?
Yep.
I have that. Yeah. I have that. I don't know. For some reason, when I was younger, I didn't have this killer mentality, like this go get it mentality. I didn't have it. I had it, but I didn't have it. It wasn't there. So as I've grown, I've gotten this mentality where, like, anytime someone ever tells me I can't do it, I say thank you, and I just go out there and I do it.
Nice.
Chip on your shoulder. Yeah.
Great lessons. I love it. Good lessons for folks.
Yeah, you gotta have that mentality, wanting the ball, right? Where it's 2 seconds left on the shot clock. You gotta want the ball.
Yeah. Oh, you do. Yeah. Adversity and all these things that come up is what builds character. A lot of my friends, of my filmmaking friends, which is interesting. I don't want to blow my own horn. Apologies. I don't want to do, but they will call me when they have problems, and they're like, "What do I do?" And I'm just like, "All right, well, should do it this way to try this, for advice." And I'm always giving away advice. I mean, recently when we were filming Hypersonic, and this is so funny, like, I didn't even mean to hear this, but I heard it, and it was just so funny. So one of the actors, they brought on a couple of their friends to do little extra roles, right? So the microphones that we use they're hot mics, so they're always recording, which is an amazing thing. Whenever we ever talk again, I'll tell you about that. It's a cool idea. But it's hot mics, so literally everything you say here. So we're listening to some of the audio, me and my the editor. Well, I was editing and the other person was there, and one of the guys said, "This is so cool. Like, he's in character, acting in the scene, but he's seeing everything else there and never breaking character." And I'm like, really? That really happened? And then I heard it on the microphone, and on the audio, and I'm like, wow. Like, and I went back and I saw the scene. I'm like, wow, yeah, I didn't break character, but I could see everything that was going on and direct from outside of the character, outside of acting and stuff. So it was just having those little things really helped even more, just being there.
Aaron, it's funny that you bring that up because, when I'm hiring for companies, because I've done a couple startups and grown companies, and I'm always looking for a specific type because I know that type will help me be successful. And it's that eye of the tiger. And that's exactly what you're describing, is that eye of the tiger. Mm-hmm. And what you have. And what's even cooler is that you have this tight-knit group of friends that you've been doing this with forever. Can you imagine, you guys, 2 years from now? I'm going to say 2 years because that's what you said. You have all your friends and you're doing a big budget, full length film. That's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah. And what's the most unbelievable part about that is that everyone that's going to be a part of it, it's not going to be work, because when we're on set, I try to make it the most fun environment, to the point where I've had like complaints. Now, usually complaints are bad, right? Complaints are like, oh my gosh, this was bad. I got complaints of people like, so when are we going to do this again? And I'm like, hold on. Like, when we wrapped for Hypersonic, like, literally the cast was like, all right, so what's next? What's the next project? We're like, we're not even done with this one yet. This isn't even edited yet. This isn't even released. What's going on? So everyone's like, when's the next one? So it's just so cool to have that experience where everyone's just like, they're ready for the next one. I'm like, I'm trying to keep up, but man, it's tough.
Awesome.
Does that happen a lot, Curtis and Aaron, that you do a pilot and you may not do the rest of the filming for a long time? Does that happen all the time?
Or ever? Yeah, that happens a lot.
But there's a difference with this. There's a difference from now to 10 years ago. Like the thing, I'm highly confident that, you know, our pilot is going to get picked up and shipped out and done anything. But
Nice.
let's say it doesn't, I'm still going to do the project no matter what. Like I'm literally going to do the project. Like I'm not even playing on that aspect. I'm like, look, we're going to get it done. I'm going to figure out a way to get it done somehow and get it where it needs to get to, because you know, when you believe in something, you believe in it, you know? Like I told the cast and crew and all my friends that are working on this project, I said, everyone's always telling me this, and this is something that I do. You know, I said, look, this is not an individual achievement. This is a team. All of us as a team. I couldn't hold the camera. I couldn't do the sound. I couldn't do all this. I couldn't act in both roles. No, it's a team effort. No matter what, we're all a team. We're competing for an Oscar as a team. We're competing for this as a team. No matter what, I'm a team person, you know, because without a team, this doesn't work. There's no way this gets done.
Yeah, and I would equate this, Scott, to you know, there's a lot of people in our circles that may want to start a company, particularly a tech company, and feel like they've got to have VC money, or they got to have angel funding, because that's what they see.
Yeah.
And really, at the end of the day, what it takes is just some determination and 1, 2, 3 talented people working together to drive something. And if you have the attitude that, like you said, you eye of the tiger, and you're just going to go get it and start the company no matter what, you probably don't need VC money. I mean, it depends on what your business model is, obviously, right? But you can get very far with the sort of auteur skills that, Aaron, that you're demonstrating. And I think a lot of young filmmakers, I see a lot of young filmmakers coming out with kind of the specializing blinders on, right? I want to be a director. I want to be a DP, right? And they don't really want to touch the other stuff. Like they don't want to sully their hands and that stuff. And I'm a director, or I'm a script writer. I don't want to learn editing. Well, you're cutting your nose off to spite your face. Right? You should go make your own feature, or make your own short at least.
Yeah.
And let that work catapult you to the next thing.
Yeah.
You got some fun going on there, Aaron?
Yeah, my nephew's trying to break into my office. So no, but go ahead. Sorry.
No, he wants in the picture. No, that's good, man. Listen, we're gonna wrap it up, but I want to just conclude with one final thought. Well, I don't think your nephew can give us a final thought. I think he's gonna have.
Hold on. I got you. Hold on.
I'm curious about your thoughts of the importance of storytelling, and when we talked about, were your parents supportive, and how do people react when you say you're a filmmaker? I think, there's a stigma, right? When you're an artist, if you make it, then, you're a genius. And of course you should have pursued your talent and just keep, follow your passion. But, life can kick you in the nads, right? And just because you go for it doesn't mean you're going to make it. And just because you make it doesn't mean you're going to be rich, right? So there's a whole spectrum of making it, right? And despite that, I think if you're an artist and that's what you've got to do, I think it's a win to try and pursue it. And I think it's a win even if you decide, hey, I tried it, I didn't achieve the level of success I wanted, or, the grind isn't for me, or what have you. And, that's a learning experience, right? And maybe now I want to take a different path. And, all of that stuff I think is important as an artist. I mean, I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always important it's just to even try and do it. I think you're ahead of the game already, because it's better to say that I did and I didn't like it, or I didn't make it, than to say, oh, I never tried and never did it, and I'm just not going to do it. I would have, I don't know what could have been, like I'll give you an example. When I was younger, I wanted to be in the NFL. Like, I wanted to be training. I trained every day to play football and this, and I tore my ACL one year, right, playing football. And then in a way, that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because now that pushed me to what I want, what I'm really good at, and what I was supposed to do. Because if I didn't tear my ACL, I would probably be still trying to make it into the NFL. And I did try. One year I did try to make it, and I couldn't make it. So, you know, and that was literally God telling me that, look, this is not for you. You need to do what you really are supposed to do. So keep pursuing no matter what. No matter what it is, keep pursuing.
Good lessons.
That sounds good. Well, Aaron, thanks so much for coming on today. Really, really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. Anytime you want, just let me know. I'm available. So,
well, we're rooting for you, and the very best of luck to you in that quest for the Oscar. I mean, that's pretty darn cool.
Thank you, guys.
You got my vote, man.
Yeah.
Man, okay, you need to convince some more people. convince them all somehow.
So if you want to find Aaron, you can find him on, it's Aaron Abelto, Abelto, and you can find him on Instagram, Twitter, IMDb, YouTube, LinkedIn, and abletofilm.com. So thanks so much for joining us today and on The Outspoken with Scott and Curtis.
And we're going to wrap it up before your nephew breaks down the door. And
yeah.
I know, man. It's interesting. Having a home studio is different, you know, when you got kids knocking on the door and all that stuff. So
no worries.
We understand, man. We understand.
Well,
all right,
like
thanks very much for coming on today. We appreciate you.
And
no problem.
We'd like to thank our producer, Brad Thomas. Thanks, Brad. And if you're watching us on YouTube and enjoy the show, please click on that like button. And if you want to hear more in our podcast, please click on that subscribe button and on the bell to get notified with each new episode, which is about weekly right now. And if you don't watch on YouTube, you can see us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music.
That banging sound you're hearing in the background is Aaron's nephew smashing the like button.
Yeah. I love it. Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and direct on outspoken.show. And until next week, from Curtis and Aaron and his nephew and I, take care, everybody.